On Wednesday, two delightful peace-loving Palestinian Arabs dressed themselves as ultra-Orthodox diners and then shot up the Sarona market in Tel Aviv. 13 people were shot, 4 Israelis were murdered. The 2 terrorists were captured. Amir Ohana, who's a Knesset member and Israel parliament member, described the scene. Said, people were having coffee, I saw a birthday cake on one of the tables, and then you see the chairs upside down and glass shattered and blood all over. The dead, a professor at Ben Gurion University, a former Special Forces fighter with 2 kids, a young mother of 4 kids, an engaged woman who had just enough time to call her fiancé before dying of her wounds. This was a textbook terror attack. Israel has weathered such attacks for decades, but small-scale attacks on soft targets have escalated dramatically in recent years, particularly by knife. Israel released information about the terrorists. They were both from a village near Hebron, that's Hebron, in Judea. Both were in their 20s. Both were celebrated by terrorist government Hamas, which runs the Gaza Strip and is a member of the coalition government in the so-called West Bank. Hamas praised the attack. Their spokesman said the shooting was, quote, the first of many surprises planned against Israel during Ramadan. So, while Western governments continue to act with sensitivity regarding going after terrorists during Ramadan, terrorists don't really seem to care. They're just happy to kill Jews. The Palestinian Authority, meanwhile, blamed Israel for the terrorist attack. They said, quote, achieving peace requires everyone to stop taking any action that will increase tensions and resorting to violence. Palestinians, meanwhile, celebrated in the streets, and they handed out candies. Naturally, the UN Security Council, they did nothing because they only condemn Israel because they hate Jews. This drove Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, to blast the UN. He said, today's heinous attack sadly proves that when the international community refuses to condemn terror against Israelis, the next attack is only a matter of time. Terror in Tel Aviv must be treated the same as terror in Paris or Istanbul. But it won't be, because these are Jews. So both the media and Western governments treated the attack as unrelated to the broader Muslim terror war on the West. Here was CNN's original tweet on the attack. This is their headline. Quote, 2 terrorists, they put terrorists in scare quotes, captured after Tel Aviv attack, Israeli spokesman tweets. This is obviously terrific journalism, in scare quotes. So terrific that CNN later had to pull the tweet and issue a quasi-apology. They said a previous, now removed tweet appeared to call into question the Tel Aviv attack as an act of terrorism. It undoubtedly was. Well, yes, thanks for that. 12 hours later, CNN also had to issue a correction on their website. There's a reason I labeled CNN Hamas's news network on CNN during the Gaza war. Meanwhile, the State Department condemned the, quote, horrific terrorist attack in Tel Aviv, but continues to pressure Israel to make concessions to the terrorist government that celebrates and supports such attacks. Just 3 days ago, the New York Times reported the State Department had given a grant to produce a Palestinian reality TV show, this is your money, in which 3 contestants run for the job of Palestinian president by promising to boycott Israel and designating East Jerusalem the capital of Palestine. When 2 Muslims loosely affiliated with ISIS killed Americans in San Bernardino, the world rightly decried ISIS. When Islamic terrorists murdered journalists in Paris, the hashtag Je suis Charlie trends. Don't hold your breath for Ani Yehudi or Ani Yisraeli or I am a Jew. Instead, just keep waiting for the West to call on Israel to make concessions to the terrorists who murder women and children in cafes. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show.